the new overtime rules.
Great reason.
So the new overtime rules in the NFL guarantee you the chance to win.
You both get the ball.
Because if you really believed in the whole team, you believed in your defense, you would just kick. You believed in the whole unit, you would just go to overtime. And I get the Bills' defense is awful, but like you said, Shane, like the Eagles had done nothing.
And that D was playing great.
The Behind the Lines podcast is proud to be sponsored by SXBet, the world's most sophisticated crypto betting exchange. Millions traded every month with 0% fees, all on the chain. Never fight for a withdrawal. Your money is always yours using advanced wallet technology. Fair, transparent, and limitless. Bet on SX.
Welcome in. It's Behind the Lines. Purifying sports betting, winning with SX. I'm Shane Pace here. Gosu in the house as well. On today's show, the NFL playoff picture shapes up. We'll look at some futures races and where we're at. And since it's New Year's Eve, maybe a little reflection and some look ahead as well. Behind the Lines, New Year's edition. Always one of my favorite times of the year, Pace, where we get to sort of look back, look ahead, think about big picture stuff. But we'll kick it off with John, with football, with the grind. And I've got to give him a lot of props. First of all, his calls from last week. No losers on the scorecard from last week. We've got 3 winners, a push, and 1 still pending, the Navy Cincinnati game that he called. So nice work there, John. And the other thing I got to give him big props for is anybody who's in Play Live in the community, hopping on the streams, knows that John is absolutely crushing it in the NBA. It is honestly, dude, I don't know how you're doing it, but I'm just here to ride with you.
I had a really good weekend, one of the best I've had. So just glad that others were able to benefit from it as well. So hopefully keep it going into the new year.
Well, John, one of the things you said to me, I think it was last Sunday, you were down like well into the mid 5 figures in one day. And you had great perspective. You're like, I had a terrible day, but honestly, I've had such a good, A, B, and C that it was due to kind of have a little bit of a setback. And it almost was like a reflection point for you where you're like, I'm up so much money, so taking the loss today was a good reality check, but also a good time to reflect on, the net as opposed to focusing on just the loss that day. And it sounds like you eclipsed that money back last weekend. No problem.
I did. Yeah. Yeah, no complaints. Just Saturday alone, I think I got definitely all that money back, maybe even a little more. So it was a great day. I would always, it's always, you always got to remember every worst day you have, you'll have a day worse than that, and you'll also have a day that's better, as good or better than that day was bad, right? So that one day will get erased by another day at some point down the road. So you just got to keep going.
As you said that, I just looked to my right because I haven't been on my computer since last night, and I see my accepted bet of the Bears money line live. We're gonna close this out here.
Yeah.
I gotta get this off my screen here. 1 sec.
Yeah, get it out of here.
That's a good point, John, and I think that I would agree with you from maybe from like an ROI standpoint, where it's like you're going to have, just this really, really bad day. But from a dollars loss standpoint, I will never have a day like a couple that I've had in my past, because I've learned too much as a bettor.
Oh yeah.
To go down the path that I've gone down. I don't know how public I've been about it, but I know I've shared my story once before where I did tilt and chase and $100,000 in Bitcoin, and I just deposited into Sportsbook and put it all in the Ravens -4. They won by the game by 3, and never told anyone about it in the day. And it was just like pure tilt, like pure rage, anger tilt. And it's like, not only would I never do that again, but I've put guards up to make sure that I can't. That was like old Pace in his prime, like just being angry and not identifying that I'm mad about something and thinking that chasing is the solution. Like I think every sports bettor will go down that path of chasing or making poor decisions or whatever it's going to be. But you think that once you've started winning, it won't happen to you. It will. So like as bettors, the learning process is as high of an EV as the bets you're making itself, from the standpoint of being mentally disciplined, understanding like bad variance, bad beats, all that kind of stuff. Shane, have you ever chased down a rabbit hole, or are you just Mr. Perfect over there with your chat?
Oh no, I've had my days of chasing for sure. I've had some really big time losing days, especially my worst ones actually have come on some of my most profitable strategies too. I'm specifically thinking about women's college basketball, not last year, probably 2 years ago, where this was, I think 3 years ago, I had a fantastic season. So I came back to it, ready to go. Things had changed a little bit. And I had, even though things had changed a little bit, I was doing all right. I built up a good bankroll and was sort of ready to just keep hammering at it. And then I lost about 15 grand in a day. Nothing. It just stopped working for that moment, that day. Things weren't clicking. And then, because, you take a few losses in a row, and I've got my tracker that says these have to start hitting. So I, instead of scaling back or even just maintaining the unit size, I increased the unit size and just bang, bang, loss. And for me, that was a huge loss in a day for me at that time. Just ridiculous. I look back on that though and think it was looking back on it though, you're thankful. Like I am thankful that I went through that, was able to sort of suffer something like that and bounce back. And it makes other losing days just sort of feel like, just roll off your back kind of thing. And that we'll get it back. And I ended up getting it back, not in a day, but I got it back over the course of the rest of that season. I think it's valuable because it builds that resiliency. And I think bettors have to go through that, especially if you want to do this long term.
Yeah. I mean, there's people that have been involved in the In Play Live community at like the heaviest level. Their success has been at the highest level, and they'll just disappear. Some of them have been public about it with like private with me, but they've shared, the story, and others haven't. And oftentimes it is something like your story there, Shane, where it just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Right. Where the next stage after that is like an all-in in the casino that is online, or
right.
Thinking that because you are winning at sports betting, you can win at blackjack as well. Like just things like that
right.
Create like a bit of a Superman syndrome to an extent. And I think more than anything, we're probably resonating with some of the listeners that are like, oh shit, like, even though these guys win, this is the reality of human emotional behavior and how it can impact your betting and your emotions in real time. But I think the real lesson is, if someone hasn't gone through this, learning without going through it. And I think that might be impossible, but if there is a way, for you to think, I don't trust myself to be more disciplined than these pros that I'm listening to right now that have all gone through this process. We don't do this anymore. What I'm referencing, I do not do anymore. This has been years since that story that I just shared. Years. It has not happened since. But if there's a way for you to safeguard any type of that behavior, overcoming your mental state when you're betting, then put it in place immediately and be aware of it, because if that's one that you can learn the easy way without going through it yourself, it'll keep you in the game a lot longer. Yeah,
I think if learning it the easy way is great advice, I think there's a certain amount of living it though that is valuable. I think I don't want anybody to lose money, but at the same time, I don't know that I'd be the same bettor without those moments. Well, geez, we sort of started off on a different track than I had expected that we would. Maybe we'll come back to some of these themes a little later in the show. But John, what do you got for us in the NFL coming up this week? We're at the end of the season. Here we are looking at week 18, probably one of the most volatile weeks every year. But also, some of the most important games getting played. I mean, there's a few matchups that maybe we'll look at that where they're playing for the division title, playing for the number 1 seed, heading into the playoffs. What have you got for us, though, both college and NFL? What are you looking at picks-wise?
So right back to bleed some more
pretty
juice.
Much done with college
Again this week.
Pre-game right now. I don't
So
anticipate
we're
myself betting.
Let's
much
go.
on
We're going to
the,
start it
next
off
round of on this round of playoffs
with the Service
maybe
Academy
a couple things I might look at. I don't think Texas
so
Tech
Army
is
is playing
underdog.
UConn.
So that's one thing I'll
This
throw
is
out
on
there. So I
December
probably will have a little
27th, I
something on
believe,
them
and then Navy is playing
as an
Cincinnati
underdog
on, I believe,
outright.
January 2nd. So we
But
will actually probably
for
have
the
another show
NFL, like you said, it's
before
a
the
tough
Navy game,
week.
but
A lot of teams probably
this one out.
playing.
So UConn's without its coaching
players,
staff, maybe on its
resting for
quarterback.
I mean, a guys in the
instances like the Colts where Phillip Rivers, I think, is not going to play. It's going to be Riley Leonard. Rookie let him play the last week. It's a team that's just done who's playing a backup quarterback, and then you have teams that probably have nothing to play for, maybe except like some seeding stuff, but they're already in the playoffs and don't really care if they're the 6 or the 7. It's like, just, let's get healthy going into the playoffs. So getting ahead of a lot of that stuff is pretty difficult these days with media. The books are on top of it, but you can still get ahead of steam. So when you see some of those things, like those teams are, let's say, the Chargers, who we might talk about later, suppose they end up saying, well, we're fine with the 5, 6, or 7, or with the 6 or 7. It's very unlikely we get the 5. They'll actually know going into their game against the Broncos in week 18 whether they even have a chance to get the 5, because the Texans and the Jags will have already played. There's really, what's the difference between the 6 and the 7, right? For them, they'd rather probably just rest. So all that to say, just important to kind of follow that stuff. But there's a couple games where I think I'm pretty confident that both teams are going to be playing guys, or at least the team that I'm betting on is be playing their guys. One of them is one of those de facto playoff games. But to start, we'll talk about the Lions at the Bears. So the Bears control the path to the 2 seed because they have the head-to-head with Philly, which actually matters, I think, because if you're the 2 seed in the NFC, that means you get to play Green Bay, who has about 1,000 injuries, rather than one of those NFC West teams, who I think everybody would probably agree the 3 NFC West teams are probably the 3 best teams in the NFC. Maybe outside, maybe the Eagles have an argument when their offense is actually good for a change, but doesn't seem to be happening very much lately. So I think the Bears are going to come to play here. We're also getting Jared Goff outdoors in the cold. It's always a great spot to go against him. Lions have lost 3 straight, pretty pathetic end to a season where this is, kind of hopefully their window's still open now. It seems like it might be a little closed. Of course, all that to say, Lions, they're playing from a position that they haven't been in the last few years, and one that's very familiar to Lions fans, where they have nothing to play for as an underdog at the end of the season except to ruin somebody else's season. So the Lions have actually underperformed this season, while the Bears have overperformed. So, the Lions have a larger point differential this year, I believe almost twice as much. They profile as about a 10-win team. The Bears about a 9-win team based on Pythagorean win totals. So underdogs later in the season with a Pythagorean discrepancy like that, over the last 20 years, 361, 268, and 15. That's 57.4% against the spread with a sample of over 600 games. I also make this line closer to 1.5. So I think there's value on the 2.5. I think this is going to get to 3. I'm pretty confident in that. It's actually moving. The juice has gotten better on the Lions side. I think Dan gets his guys ready to play here. This is kind of his hoorah spot. They're an underdog against a division rival who's trying to get a 2 seed, trying to win this game. Go in there and make them, kind of throw a wrench in what's been a really good feel good story for the Bears. So this is where you cue the Monty Python "Bring Out Your Dead" clip. Because this Lions team has definitely looked like a corpse for the last month, but I'm here for it.
Okay. All right. So you maybe suggesting hanging on the waiting. Let's see if the line gets to 3, maybe even 3.5.
I think this line will probably be 3 by the time this podcast comes out.
Okay.
I have a hard time seeing 3.5. I mean, maybe it gets there. Maybe there's not enough resistance. It'll also depend on, I don't think the Bears have even really said if they care that much. I think you should really go for the 2 seed. And I think they've had such a good story of a season that they probably will play and try to win this game. Lions, I think, again, they're just trying to ruin it. So we'll see, but I think 3 is definitely coming.
Yeah, I think the public perception on the Lions is really low right now. I know that they've looked really, really bad, and it may be high on the Bears, especially after that, even though they lost, but that was an incredible shootout with San Francisco on Monday night or on Sunday night. Yeah, really.
There's a massive turnover discrepancy too, and there's definitely a skill factor in turnovers, right? It's not like it's not total luck, but fumbles recovered versus times you fumbled that you've lost the fumble and stuff. The Bears are one of they've had some of the highest luck statistics since we can record that kind of stuff. Especially with expected field goal percentage made by your opponent, which you essentially don't really have much to do with unless you actually block the field goal, stuff like that. So it's a very high luck matchup as well in terms of team who's been unlucky versus a team who's been very lucky, and those tend to favor the outcome on a spread over time as well.
All right, good stuff. What's next?
Yeah, the only other play I like, at least early on this week without a lot of information, is this Ravens Steelers game. So the Sunday night game. I don't really know that we need to discuss much about this game. We all know what's at stake. I think the only thing that makes this game better than the Carolina Tampa game is the logos on the helmets. These teams suck. But it's obvious what we want to do with this game. Some might say it's a little too obvious for people who think there's such a thing as rat lines and all that kind of stuff, traps, sharp traps. But if it looks like a duck, etc. I'll just give some stats to support where I'm going with this. So Mike Tomlin as an underdog, 67, 37 and 4, 64.4% against the spread, 22 and 9 and 3, 71% at home, including the 2005 season. So the last 20 years, they played 41 times. The underdog in this matchup between the Ravens and the Steelers in those 41 times, 29, 9 and 3 against the spread, 76.3%. 24, 5 and 3 when an underdog of 3 or more. It's 82.8%. And home underdogs are 9, 2 and 2. So you get the idea. Steelers plus 3.5, minus 115 out there right now.
I couldn't believe the line when I saw it. I couldn't believe
it's bizarre. I'd take 3 flat. I mean, they're no good, but Ravens teams isn't good. We didn't even mention it might be Snoop Huntley again for the Ravens. If it's Lamar, he's not 100%. Right. So with a healthy Lamar, I would make this line 2.5. This line is bizarre to me. It truly is a gift. It doesn't mean it will win, but this is a bet that you just make, and you make it every time. And you know that in the long term, you're going to make a lot of money making this bet. So it's Steelers plus 3.5.
I'm going to close out the season 2, Shane, with a nice teaser here.
Okay. Yep.
We can get the Niners plus 7.5 at home. I think that's just insane. That one's on Saturday. And I like, as a third leg, if you want to juice it up, I like Denver at home to close out and get the AFC 1 seed. But the 2 picks that I really love are that Steelers plus, extending it up 6 more points, and the Niners plus 7.5.
All right. Steelers plus 9.5. Niners plus 7.5 as a teaser. And if you're feeling a little frisky, add in Denver money line.
It would be minus 1.5 for Denver.
Denver at minus 1.5. Okay, cool. Pace's teaser on the board. All right. And John, a little sprinkle on the Steelers money line? Must.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
A little bit here, right?
Yeah.
At least a little something.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. Anything else in the NFL?
No, that's it. If you want some more garbage to throw in that teaser, I put the Saints in a teaser. They're an underdog to the Falcons, who I think are why are they an underdog to the Falcons?
The Saints are actually a really interesting football team.
They are.
If the season started a few weeks ago, they'd be 100% contending for the division. Their division is dog shit.
Yep.
This Panthers Bucks matchup for the division is one of the worst division final.
It's got to be. We had to talk about it too. I was going to bring it up, so let's get into it.
Like the Bucks, I've been saying this on stream. Baker Mayfield MVP, one of the most exciting teams in the NFL. The receiving core with Ibuka added is just like cream of the crop premier. Bucky Irving's a superstar. These guys fucking suck. They're torturous to watch. It is so bad.
Turnovers against the Dolphins, like the lowly Dolphins. And you just couldn't do it. And like in the fourth quarter, turning it over with the time running out, like it was just pathetic.
It was so bad. It was so bad. So yeah, this matchup is just shit. But yeah, the Saints are start the season today. I'd put them as favorites to win the division.
They do look great with Tyler a QB there.
Yeah, showtime.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty great stuff there. What they're doing and what they're sort of putting together, and a lot of that without Alvin Kamara in the lineup too, which is, you imagine he's healthy and a lot looks bright. Future looks bright for them next season.
I mean, they went in probably with what people would say was one of the worst quarterback situations when Derek Carr retired suddenly before the season, and now they probably aren't even in. I mean, they're definitely not in the market in the draft for one anymore. So good. It's maybe it's a lesson. It's like everybody's. I mean, you can't say he's going to be great. He's going to have a great career or whatever else. But everybody's so obsessed with tanking, losing, rooting for their own team to lose all the time. It's just sad because. Great. You got Cam Ward. It's like, well, you could have had Tyler Shuck, who's been better this year, and like you're cheering for your team to lose for multiple years in a row. So I don't know. I just think there's way too much put on the value of one draft slot when there's so much unknown. So
I think that win over Tennessee just absolutely raked GRP over the coals. He was really big on. I know he had like Saints under 3.5 wins, under 4.5 wins, under 5.5 wins, like all season long. He was betting their under on win totals. I think he just got absolutely smoked.
That was a close game. Close game too. Tennessee almost got the dub there.
Yeah.
When Cam Ward handed it off to the Saints defensive lineman for a touchdown, I knew that game was turning.
Guys, have you guys been on the Score today? Are you guys seeing that they've stuffed these shitty, cheap ass ads? So it looks like the slate is just like 7 games, but you have to scroll through an ad and then there's more games below it. So when you have a big day like of college basketball where you use the Score, you got to scroll through all these ads now to find your game. It's awful. Awful update from the Score. Like right now, if you look at the men's college basketball slate for the day, when I first opened it, I was like, oh, there's only 6 games on today. You have to scroll through the ads and to get there's a big slate of college basketball today. Yeah. So anyways.
Yeah, there's a ton of games.
Hey. Terrible update from the Score.
Hey, they got to get paid, Pace. Okay, leave them alone. They got to make their money, all right? They got to get their ad revenue in wherever they can.
This is bad.
Speaking of which, that might be a great time to mention that I'm on the leaderboard for the SX Parlay tournament. It's a lot of fun. I've noticed a few more In-Play Live familiar handles joining the tournament, climbing the leaderboard there. Just wanted to mention that quickly, but before I forget, speaking of getting some ad time in.
Well done.
Yeah, well done.
There we go. Okay, so let me recap the picks before we move on. And of course, you can get these picks over at SX for real there.
With the best odds typically too. Yeah. And
really with the best odds. Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? If you're not getting the best odds, you go post your own line. Chances are somebody's going to pick it up and take it. So go ahead and post it with the odds you want. I'm doing that quite often in hockey, by the way, for anyone out there who's been doing it. I'm doing it in hockey. And I'll say this, like, it's a little bit dicey because I'm not getting the line when you want to get it, but I'm getting the odds. When it does get taken, I'm getting the odds I want. So if that makes any sense. So example, we might take something with 5 minutes remaining. I post my line. I don't have the bet at 5 minutes remaining. So right away I'm sitting there going like, I hope my bet gets taken. I hope my bet gets taken. Right. But sometimes it goes to like 2 minutes and my bet hasn't been taken yet. And then it's like, do I still want this bet? There's only 2 minutes left. Do I still want it? And then I'm leaving it. And I often find right around that 2 minute mark, my bet gets taken. And our bets often lately have ended up winning, as anyone on the stream will know. So if anyone out there is playing around with it, I've been doing that on SX. It's working out. I'm getting the odds. I think that's the important thing to mention is I'm getting the price that I want.
Right.
And if I don't get the price that I want, then maybe it was a good leave. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the data and the numbers that we quote on stream or that we take are really important.
Price is so important.
There's been a couple calls this year where I look at the tracker and I'm like, that is way below what the price we want. Right. Way below. But in general, we're calling numbers that if you have that bet 10,000 times, you're going to have made an ROI above 5%. pretty confident about that 5%. So, historically, like last season, NHL was 13.5%. The season before that was 15%. Right. So, those numbers matter. You need to get the prices that you want. If you're getting, 5% worse, your numbers might not be 13.5%. They might be closer to 7, 8%, but still very profitable. So getting as close to the number with everything when it comes to expecting to make money from sports betting is the difference between being profitable and not.
Yeah. Okay. Before we move on, let me rhyme off these calls one more time for everybody out there. John likes the Texas Tech. He likes them as an underdog, but maybe not an official call just yet, John. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you like them.
Small bet.
Small bet. Texas Tech money line. Okay. Lions at the Bears. He likes the Lions +3. Steelers +3.5 against the Ravens with a little sprinkle on the money line there. And Pace putting together a teaser. Niners +7.5 with Steelers +9.5. And if you really want to get it, Denver -1.5 as an add-on. But we won't track that. Let's keep the Denver off the tracker, and we'll just go with the two confident picks there. Sound good, Pace?
Sure.
There we go. Perfect. All right. Let's get into a little story time. Pace, you said you have lots to get into, so I'll just do mine very briefly. And I just want to mention I had the over in this game, over 27.5. I'm talking about the Bills hosting the Eagles over the weekend. And I couldn't, but I get that they had missed an extra point already in the game. Okay. But you're at home. The Eagles have done nothing in the second half. Nothing. I think they had 7 yards or something gained in the second half. They've been absolute trash. Your defense is holding up. The momentum is completely on your side. You've got an opportunity to tie the game, go to overtime. We know that overtime favors favorites, which the Bills are, favors the home team, which the Bills are. Go to overtime. Go to overtime. No, let's try to win it with a 2-point conversion. And of course they fail, lose the game. And I lose my over. But whatever. The over doesn't matter. I think it was an absolute stupid decision to go for it. And I think if they had way better chances at taking that game to overtime and winning the game in overtime. And this guy, McDermott, just makes stupid decisions all the time. In a league full of dumb coaches, he's up there as one of the dumbest. Okay.
It's an interesting take. So I talked about this on stream yesterday, but I think that there's a lot of trends in the NFL that cause coaches to do things that they believe is right. So teams going for 2 at the buzzer, we've seen it where, for example, the Bengals were against the Ravens. Their season was on the line. This one was actually featured in quarterback, and they failed. And in the locker room after the fact, Zach Taylor was screaming, "I'm going to go for 2 every single time in that spot because I believe in you guys." There's 50 seconds left. If they got the 2, they probably would have lost the game still because the Ravens would have gone into range and kicked. And then you can say, "Hey, Pace, well, they would have done the same if the game was tied." It's not true, because psychologically speaking, if the game is tied and you make a mistake late in the game and you don't go to overtime, you get crucified. So the way you handle the play calling is a lot different. Oftentimes the first down play will be a run play so that you're in control of the clock and that your opponents can't get the ball back. So there is a plague in the league when it comes to what's going on from a coaching standpoint. But the 2-point conversion to end the game, I think, is almost like an automatic right thing to do, because a lot of analytics came out in college football that said if you go second in the first overtime, it makes statistical sense to go for 2 and try to win the game on the spot. And there was a whole study done on why that was the right decision. The studies that are done on these are based on the statistical probability of converting 2 points as a blanket situation. And that's where the bullshit starts coming in. Because if I have a 2-point conversion down 24, down 19, down 16, or down 11, they are so much different and hit at a higher rate than if it is to take the lead, because the game's on the line. So if I'm a defender and I'm down 24, you just scored a touchdown, you got 6 points. Now I'm down 18 and you get the 2, I go down 16. I'm sorry. Do I care? Yeah. Am I putting every ounce of effort and energy into that play? No, I am not. If if my season is on the line or the game is on the line, I'm putting everything I possibly have into it. And John brought this up last night on stream. The refs' whistles are more likely to stay in their pockets.
Right.
Because they don't want the game to be decided on something that isn't like an egregious foul.
Yeah.
Whereas
they don't want to decide the game.
Down 24, we might see a little Mario Kart, right? We might see a little here's bullet Bill, and you can get caught up, right? They're like, he grabbed him a little bit. Let's throw a flag, give him another crack at this 2-pointer. So the 2-point conversion percentage with the game on the line versus, any generic 2-point conversion is different. And John looked into since 2012, how many of these have been converted, and it's less than 50%. So now that's point number one. That's my reason to not go for 2, number one. My reason to not go for 2, number two, is the new overtime rules.
Great reason.
So the new overtime rules in the NFL guarantee you the chance to win.
You both get the ball.
You are guaranteed the chance to win, period. Now, if you go back historically and you look at Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, where you're just like, you almost feel it. They're going to win the coin toss and go score the touchdown and win the game, and the game is over. That was kind of the case. And it's like, go for 2 now and just fucking end it while it's in your hands. The time has changed. You are guaranteed the football. Now, when do you go for 2? Exactly what Seattle did against the Rams, and I'll tell you why. The reason you go for 2, if you have the second possession of overtime in the regular season, is because it's a 10-minute overtime period.
Yeah.
So team 1 drives the field, they score a touchdown. Odds are they used up 5 minutes, right? They may have used up 8 minutes, but odds are they used up 5+ minutes. Now you get the ball back as the team that is down. You can go tie or win the game. Well, you drive the field, you score the touchdown. With the overtime period only being 10 minutes long, if you kick the PAT, you probably can't win the game. Can't.
It's likely then.
Not unlikely. Like, you can't win the game because that
you're
team
either going to lose or tie.
You're going to lose or tie.
You're getting free rolled.
Yeah.
You're getting free roll. Exactly.
So you have the ball in your hands. Your only chance to win, in my opinion, then, is to go for 2, barring some sort of turnover. Go for 2 like the Seahawks did against the Rams a couple weeks ago. Hope that you win the game, and if you do, great. That makes sense to me. You're the Bills. You're at home. Philly hasn't completed a pass in the second half. Kick the fucking PAT knowing that you will get the chance to win in overtime. It's a statistical fact. What I'm saying can't be proven untrue. So I hate that they went for 2 there, and I hate anyone going for 2 in the regular season to, quote, win the game at the end of the game. I think the analytics are flawed, and the psychology across the league is broken when it comes to that, given the new overtime rules.
Yep.
Well, couldn't agree more, John. Where do you land here?
I agree. I think a lot of it stems from a very overarching problem in the league, and it's with the marketing in the league, and it all comes into one cohesive plot around increased scoring. Quarterbacks are the face of the league, even receivers are the face of the league. It's because those are the guys on your fantasy team. There are no teams anymore who are defined by a defensive identity with defensive stars. If you go back to even just like 12 years ago, for those Ravens and the Steelers teams, like, think about how many players on defense you could name from those teams.
Yeah.
And most people, even casual fans, could name. You could start naming Ravens players like Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, Haloti Ngata, like all these guys. People could just go on and just name all these guys. And that's casual fans. And so the idea of like, we're a defensive team with a defensive identity, I'm going to trust my defense to do anything. Even the Texans, who are probably what most people would identify as like a defensive identity team right now, they're most known for CJ Stroud. Like, he's their most known player. And I guarantee you that in these same situations, they're probably going for 2, and they're going for it on 4th down when they're up, in these games and stuff. And it's just, it's kind of a plague of the league where there's so much emphasis on, well, I believe in our guys. Well, clearly you only believe in half. You believe in the ones on offense. Because if you really believed in the whole team, you believed in your defense, you would just kick. You believed in the whole unit, you would just go to overtime. And I get the Bills defense is awful, but like you said, Shane, like the Eagles had done nothing.
And that D was playing great.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So, and it's just even a defensive guy like Sean McDermott, who came up as a defensive coordinator, defensive guy, he only trusts clearly half of his team, and it's not the side that he would normally be coaching. And that's just that to me is not that's more of a symptom of the league than it is of him, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it was, I think, a terrible decision. I think he's going to probably continue to make bad decisions. And that Bills team, I honestly don't think that Bills team is ever going to win with him as the head coach. And that's a real shame because Josh Allen is one of the stars in the league. And I don't think as long as he's with that team, with that coach, I don't think they're ever going to do anything significant.
You know what, though? We've talked a lot about quarterbacks, and I think the Rivers experiment has shown us, like, when you see a quiet Colts stadium and you hear his words and the audibles at the line of scrimmage, and you just get this reminder of what it was like watching Peyton Manning, even though he's not Peyton Manning. You got this, holy smokes, someone intelligent who understands the game of football on offense and defense, reading what he is seeing and adjusting his team in real time. Does that still happen today with other quarterbacks? Absolutely. But to that extent, it was like, oh my God, it's like I'm watching Drew Brees. It's like I'm watching Ben Roethlisberger. It's like I'm watching Tom Brady. It's like I'm watching Aaron Rodgers in his prime. Like I got that feeling, and I'm like, holy fuck, it's like 10 years have dialed back, and I'm watching someone smart play football. And as we transitioned into the Mahomes and the Allens and the Lamars and all that kind of stuff, what we saw were some of the most exciting, unbelievably unprecedented athletic plays at quarterback that we had never seen at the position, right?
Yeah.
And now I look at Josh Allen, and is he talented? Yes. Is he one of the best in the league? Yes. Does he have the strength, athleticism, on and on and on and on? But I watch him and I'm like, you're not intelligently guiding your team down the field the way one of those quarterbacks would have, because your athleticism just keeps bailing you out. And then I watch, and to your point, it's like, I don't know if McDermott is as bad as you're making him out to be, but I watch him yesterday and I'm just like, this guy isn't brilliant. He's not. Is he athletically brilliant? Yes. But he's missing throws. He's not making adjustments. He's running around like a buffoon all the time.
Getting sacked out of range in that at the end of the game there was
really
just
bad.
Terrible.
But it's because of this athleticism that bails these guys out.
And then it doesn't. And then it doesn't, right? There's moments where it doesn't. Yeah.
And it's like, if Tom Brady was in that position where the defense is closing in on him, he would take the sack for a loss of 5 yards, and he tucks and takes it in a way to preserve his career. But also the probability of him identifying what was coming at him prior to that and adjusting it, even if it was a screen for a gain of 3 yards, or a check down for a gain of 1 yard, or an incomplete pass where you see him intentionally throw it into someone's foot. You look at it and you go, there was brilliance in the identification of what was going on in those moments. So when you bring up the Josh Allen part of the equation, I go, is he amazing? Yes. Do I love him as a quarterback? Absolutely. But I think he's just lacking those fundamentals that those guys had because of how athletic he is. And that isn't just about Josh Allen. It's really all of them. Watch Caleb Williams last night on the final drive when the Niners blitzed him. Watch what he does. He doesn't identify the blitz. There are wide open receivers, wide open. And he thinks, how can I run away from all these defenders right now? Not how can I get the ball out right away and get it to this open receiver that's wide open because freaking 12 people are running at me, right?
Yeah.
He makes the right read, but it's I have to run backwards first before I can throw it, right? It's like, he's not trusting, he's not playing like the way a basketball player passes, like you drive and without looking, there's a guy in the corner because there's a defender on my hip, right? So he must not be there. It's like soccer, I'm passing the ball to the open spot of the field, right? Like it's a lost art.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, we spent a lot of time on that, a lot more than I thought we would, but obviously we have some passions towards it. All right, Pace. Anything else? Story time related? Anything you wanted to share?
It depends how much time we have here, Shane. I've got stories galore.
You got stories galore.
Well, football's almost over. If we could run long, we could probably run long for the end of the season.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but I've noticed a real uptick in VIP managers contacting me in the last 2 weeks. I don't know if it's related to the holidays. I don't know if it's like people get a little bit of extra money at Christmas. I have no idea. Or like they got gifted some money, so they think they can gamble it. Have you guys seen an uptick?
Well,
in VIP
I think Christmas marketing generally makes sense, right? There's just like, let's just take it away from sports betting. I just see way more hands trying to reach in my pockets at Christmas time. Period. Sure. Everywhere I go, and so why would sports betting be any different, right? The VIP manager thinks they've got you.
Maybe Christmas is an excuse to reach out to bettors to say, happy holidays, and here's what I have for you as an offer, as if it's a gift. But anyways, 3 books I wanted to touch on. I don't know if we can get to all of them here.
Go for it. Let's go for it.
The first is Jazz Sports, and we had Prashant on recently, who exposed Jazz Sports on what they were doing to their players. And by the way, we had Prashant on, but his story I have heard from dozens of people. John, I think you were caught in the crosshairs. Oh no, you got out of there. I think you and I both got out of there.
I've not used Jazz Sports.
Okay.
I don't think they're in the US.
Yeah. So anyways, the guy reaches out to me, gives me an offer, bonuses, all the bullshit. And I just responded, you don't pay your customers. So he goes, hey, Andrew, thank you for your reply. That allegation is inaccurate. Our company has been in continuous operation for over 30 years. During that time, the business has undergone management changes, which were implemented to improve operational oversight and financial administration. We remain capable of meeting our financial obligations. At this time, payments can be made in the amount of $2,500 per week, totaling $10,000 per month, and we are prepared to honor this payment arrangement in good faith. We take these matters seriously and are addressing them in a professional and responsible manner. Looking forward to hearing from you. So I just said, several of my friends aren't being paid as your team is saying the focus is on paying recreational players. So you guys stopped paying and have been fully outed. And what's funny is he went on to basically say that what I said isn't true. And I sent him a screenshot of the Trustpilot reviews. And I said, a lot of these people I actually know personally. And this is exactly what's going on. And he doesn't say like, oh, we're going to work on this and fix this and appreciate your feedback. He just never responded. So he was actually like stuck to his guns. We've been operational for 30 years, gave a very, I think, what seemed like a reputable response that like, if I didn't know better, I'd be like, okay, 30 years, these guys are legit. I'm going to go play with them. But they have changed management, and that is their approach now. They find a reason to say that you're not a recreational player and then not pay you, as they did with Prashant. So the second book is Every Game. You guys are familiar with them.
Yeah.
So in my experience with them, what happened for me with In Play Live was we had a situation where they had a broken line, and we used to call them everybrokenline.eu. They had a broken line on a Jags game where it was like, 2 minutes left in the quarter, and they had no more points in the quarter with the team starting their drive at like their own 10 at like 2.5. And I think I had just deposited $1,000 in my account, and I bet the full 1,000 on that bet, and the Jags scored an 80-yard touchdown on the next play.
Oh.
And we made a joke like, oh, what did they know? I hadn't gone back. So they reached out. It's a pleasure to have you as our newest member of the Every Game VIP Club. This is your new sportsbook host, Sam. Just checking in to see how you're doing. Still enjoying the games. Blah, 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 blah. We really value hearing from you. We want your feedback and suggestions to help make the experience better for everyone. If there's anything that has been stopping you from playing or any concern you have right now, please don't hesitate to share it. I am here to ensure a smooth experience. Thank you again for being such an essential part of our family. Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I respond. I've read a ton of reviews. Well, just so you know, in this moment, I was like, oh, I should go back. That was my gut. I was like, I should go back and start playing there again. They're softer than Charmin. And, I love a book that's added me to a VIP program. I just said, I've read a ton of reviews about Every Game, and it seems like you guys are stiffing your players. So I decided I'm not going to continue to play there. Hey, Andrew, thanks for getting back to us and sharing your concerns. I'm sorry to hear you've had experiences with our other reviews that affected your trust. Your gaming experience is truly important to us, and it's not in our interest to treat our player with anything but respect. We would happy to address any specific concerns you may have. Could you share more details of what made you feel didn't meet your expectations? What is it about the fairness or payout times or platform performance? Which games or features didn't perform as you expected? Any particular incidents or interactions? Your feedback helps us target real improvements. Please know that every game sportsbook team is continuously working to enhance reliability, fairness, and the overall player experience. Blah, 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 blah. So I went to Trustpilot, and this is the thing. When you go to a site like that, you're always typically going to get really bad reviews for sports.
Yeah, people go there for bad reviews. Yeah.
And I think that's important for the viewer or like listeners to understand. When you do a review of a book, like if you take the best, most reputable sports books in the world, they will have terrible reviews because people have gone and lost money on their site, or they didn't win at the rate that they hoped they did on their slot machine, right? Et cetera, et cetera. But if you go to Trustpilot for every game, it's like very recent, very similar to Jazz. And it's one after the other reporting the exact same story of them stealing all of their money. Wow. So I just said, like, these are your reviews online. Basically, your reputation is everything and yours is gone. So they go, thank you for your prompt response. Greatly valued. I understand where you're coming from. Sorry to hear that you have lost confidence in every game. We do take these matters seriously and review such. With that being said, we do pride ourselves in paying all our players who operated within the terms and conditions of every game that were agreed upon when you registered. Individuals have voided these terms and been denied payouts. As a result, do have a right to leave whatever kind of review in an open forum they desire. However, that would be outside of our control. Regardless, we do appreciate you expressing your thoughts and suggestions and reaching out to us. Thank you. So I responded and I said, this is exactly the point. You go through your terms and conditions and find something loose as a reason not to pay. Like the player used software or arbitrage bet when you have no evidence of them doing that. And I said, your reputation is shot. Bettors take the lines that sportsbooks offer. And if you can't stand behind those lines and pay out everybody, you are simply the plague of the industry. So, hey, Andrew, any decisions regarding the denial of a withdrawal would not be done lightly. The decision is made only after careful review and assessment of the account. Then they go into the term and conditions, that general rules. Every game has no interest in cheating or engage in dishonest with the player. And I said, I appreciate your responses, but your reviews are simply finding ways not to pay your players. That is very clear now. The market has spoken. If you are a regulated book, every single customer that is asking to be paid that you did not pay would have been paid in full. And that says everything. So that was the end of the conversation. But it is wild, the push that some of these books that have changed management, because I would put every game in a category of offshore sports books that people should play at. And it's funny when you go look at a lot of the lists now, there's certain books that were on those lists that are now gone because the people that recognized them as an reputable offshore sports book, like a Bet Online, right? They're not on the list anymore. And it's because they have stopped paying out or found ways to basically try to make their operation more profitable. But it's going to come at their ultimate demise. Every single sports book that I've seen that stops paying their customers, in a very short period of time, they stop offering bets as well.
Yeah. Well, I think this brings us sort of to the next kind of segment or topic where I just want to do a little bit of a look back and a little bit of a look ahead. And one of the things that I was going to mention as we look ahead to 2026, and something that I think we're going to start to see more of in the sports betting landscape, is this sort of I'll call it like collapse of these offshore sports books. Maybe not a full collapse, but what I mean by that is that the only way that they can become profitable over the long term now is by doing stuff like this. Because, Pace, we've talked about this a lot here on the show over the course of the years here, is that who ends up playing at these books? Mostly sharp bettors, right? That's where they're going to get most of their action, because there's so many places now where there's regulated sports books, the Fan Kings of the world, the 365s, and the rest of the really kind of recreational books that are out there for all of the recreational players. Recreational players aren't going to every game. Right? They're not going to Jazz. Some of the books that I've rhymed off to some of my friends are like, what the heck are you talking about? what are these things you're playing at, right? And it's like they would just never even consider or even think about it or even come close to depositing a dime in any of these things. They'll put their money in their trusty old 365. You know what I mean? If they want to make a sports bet, and that's absolutely fine. The only people they attract is us, and if they don't have us trusting them, then forget it. And we have more outs and more places to go and bet now, especially with the exchanges, the prediction markets, as places to go and play at, along with other recreational books that are trying to make their mark. And I also think, Pace, we talked about Pinnacle here on the show several weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago even now, and what happened with them and why part of the reason they're not a sponsor anymore. And I've been seeing some messages in our Discord talking about Pinnacle, people getting struggling to get paid out by Pinnacle.
What?
Yeah. There's some people saying that they're struggling to get paid out by Pinnacle now. And I think, when I say those offshore books, where I was talking about Every Game, for example, there in Jazz, and maybe some of those other ones that people are well familiar with. But even I think some of these sharp books out there are starting to struggle. And I think they're starting to struggle because of the rise of prediction markets. Because what is a prediction market book or an exchange? It's a sharp book. It's a sharp book, especially if you can get your action there, right? If you can bet on the markets you want to bet on an exchange, you don't need a sharp book, right? What do you need a sharp book for?
But also, too, like if you look at the trend of Pinnacle's live markets over time, right? They stopped offering a lot of the markets that they were getting beat on. So I've talked about this a little bit in the past, but there was a certain playoff run in 2021 where Pinnacle was offering our ability as bettors to bet on some of the things that we like to, that were very specific to the playoffs in the NHL. And we really cleaned up, and it was like overnight all the markets were gone. Now I don't blame them for that, right? You go, these guys know what they're doing. We got smoked on this. It's not handicapped properly. We don't have the volume to balance out the action. We have to just pull this, and it's never come back. Never to this day. This is years and years ago, right? So what you end up with like a sharp sports book potentially is a shell of what you want to offer from the standpoint of protecting your profits as a sports book, knowing that you can't limit the player. So rather than limiting the player, limit the market or pull the market entirely, right? Well, we are now starting to see the crossroads, right, of where you have this shell of a sports book that's offering live bets like Bet 105 or Pinnacle, that you open it up and there's just nothing there, right? And the prediction markets, right? Open up SX live. Now, is it like Bet365? Not even close, right? But do they actually have live markets that you can wager on that, like you just mentioned, Shane, you may not have bet at the 5-minute mark, but someone scoops it up as they believe that situation has changed enough for them to take that bet? Yes. And as we see, let's just say Kalshi, Polymarket, whichever ones you want to put out in the list, as we see those markets start to get offered, right? And you have places like SX and bettors like us offering lines, when people see arbitrage opportunities to the sports books, the regulated sports books, and also to the other prediction markets, right? They are taking those. And I've already spoken to Kay, and she said there's tons of players that are just using their bonuses that they're getting at SX, and they're just harvesting the money through Polymarket and or Kalshi with a lot of pregame bets and turning their it's not maybe a true arbitrage, but as close to arbitrage as possible to roll through their bonuses and print out the bonus money that SX is offering their players. And she's cool with it, right? Like she's like, hey, this is awesome. If this is how people are using this system and it gets them playing on our platform, they're all for it. So as those markets start being offered more and more and more, where does that leave a sharp sports book when you go, I'm getting the same or better numbers pregame, right? The same or better, right? The lines are entirely market driven. I don't need to handicap anything myself, right? Is Vegas or the sports books and the lines that they create, the ultimate sort of where those lines start, sure. So they're a factor in the whole process. And now we have all these other markets and live opportunities. Yeah, I mean, it could be totally crippling to sites like Pinnacle. Right?
Yeah. And I think that's why we're seeing them shift a little bit in how they treat the customers that they do have. Yeah, and I think we're going to see more of that in 2026. So I think, in the past I would have said it's imperative to have a sharp book, in your repertoire of books. I think, well, I still think it's probably important. I think it's less important, and it's more important now to have an exchange at your disposal, whether that's SX, whether that's Kalshi, whether that's Polymarket.
Use them both. Use them all.
Yeah, use them all if you can.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. But I think it's imperative to have it in your toolkit.
Totally. I didn't share my third book story. We'll save it for another day. But I got another funny one, and it's not from a book that I think is not going to pay me, but what the rep did to try to make himself more commission is wild. So
all right. Little teaser for next episode, maybe.
Yeah,
John, anything for 2026 that you're kind of like thinking about paying attention to when it comes to the sports betting landscape or anything within it?
No, I mean, I think it's the prediction markets. I know Kalshi got hit with some kind of lawsuit again, where people are like, I think the argument this time is that they're tricking people into thinking that they're betting against other bettors, and they're really betting against the house. And by the house, they mean hedge funds that are employed by Kalshi to provide liquidity and set lines, which I just, when I heard about it, I guess people don't know how the stock market works. Like, you don't buy a stock. When you buy a stock, it's not created out of thin air. You buy it from someone who's setting a price and thinks they're getting a good deal on selling it. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, and that's what they're regulated in a similar fashion. So I'm just looking forward to seeing the markets grow as the DraftKings and FanDuels, and I know Fanatics has one, like all these books get their exchanges up and going, their prediction markets up and going. I know they're going to have better interfaces for people who bet casually and bet those markets, and they're going to have better ideas of how to actually make it easier to get those bets in. So I'm looking forward to going into the next football season, maybe with a better way to bet player props in regulated markets, especially even on college players where you can't do that in most of the United States, right? And having liquidity there across all these platforms to do that. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. And I would say, like, checking out Polymarket and what they offer, and then talking to you guys on stream about, like, what does Kalshi have right now for this? And Trampus is like, they don't have anything compared to what you're describing. SX is leading the charge there in a massive way. Like, when you look at what you can bet on live, I think there is massive room for improvement there. But when you compare them, it's like, oh my God, you can actually bet on, half spreads and, totals and money lines, and player props are there live for NFL. Right. So, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's just a matter of filling that liquidity. And I think that's where, if you're a sports book right now and you are someone like some of these offshores, and you do pay, your odds provider and your team and everything, and you're sitting there going like, oh, things aren't the way we want them to be. We got to find new ways to make money. I view it as a great opportunity to go be a market maker on these sites.
Mm-hmm.
So if
access the API and get at it.
Yeah. Right. Like, if you are Pinnacle, why aren't you offering your lines on SX right now? What is the downside to that? Right. It just gives you more handle in a new market, especially to, like, some of those sites. Typically, offshore and crypto are synonymous. They kind of go hand in hand, but it's opening up that arm without actually having the infrastructure in your online casino that you currently operate. Right, all of a sudden, bang, you're just like with all the people that instantly want access to play on a site that operates in crypto. And, like, that's why stake is so fucking big. Like, they are so big because you created all these crypto millionaires from these stupid coins where they, hit the jackpot and they want to spend all their money on art, digital art, and all this crap that's worth nothing now. Well, state gave them the opportunity to gamble where elsewhere they couldn't. And not only that, they were the ones that first said, you can keep it in your coin. We won't convert it to fiat. Yep. You can convert it to fiat on your screen so you see it that way, but it is still Bitcoin or it is still Dogecoin or Ethereum or whatever you want to play in. And I know that sounds like elementary now, but at the time, that was a big deal, a big, big deal.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's funny you brought up NFTs. I haven't heard much about those recently. They seem to have faded quite quickly. Yeah.
They ironically made real trading cards more valuable. Yeah, like they see. I think that single-handedly spiked like the modern renaissance of. And as someone I know, Pace is huge into it. I'm not into it at all. But it's not a coincidence. It happened at the same time,
Well, it's like you just spent $500,000 on LeBron James making a layup. You could have just bought his card that's less than the $500,000 and is now worth 5x, whereas the $500,000 layups were zero. And even then, I have I'm a card guy. I have a whole argument against the card thing myself. Like I still think there's no intrinsic value. You're buying thousands of dollars worth of cardboard with like markings on it. But that's we've talked about the collectible stuff.
We have okay, guys. We're getting into overtime here. I thought this would be a shorter episode. It turned out to be.
I told you, Shane. You give an open mic.
Yeah,
we won't stop.
Okay, one last thing before we close out 2025, and the next time we chat, it will be 2026. But perhaps a lesson learned from 2025 that you're carrying forward. I'll start. Pace, this is something you used to mention, I think, either on stream here on the podcast or something, but I don't think I ever really fully felt it until this year and over the last couple of months, but always looking ahead and being excited for what's next or waiting. Oh, I just can't wait for NFL to start. That's when I'll make my money. Or I just can't wait for college hoops to come around. That's when I'll really make my money. Or I just can't wait for this next season to come around. That's when I'll make my money. I think I finally have learned this lesson that it's not about what's coming next and focusing on what's coming next. It's about just embracing where you're at, whether that's in the calendar year, in your betting journey, in your bankroll, and making a few smart decisions. Focusing on value, focusing on finding where the value lies, not being worried about what's coming next and how you'll capitalize on that next thing. And I think as bettors, a lot of us out there do that in a whole bunch of sports. And I think I finally hit a place where just happy to be in the moment where we are, whatever season that is, whatever sports that is, that's available to us. And I don't think I'm so much needing to wait for that next thing anymore. And that's something I'm really going to try to continue to hold on to, and something that I'm really happy that I've learned to appreciate the value in.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a good point, because I used to basically think like summers you don't bet. And I made so much money this last summer with low volume, like very good balance. Yeah. Lots of outdoor activities, lots of boating, lots of sunshine, lots of friends, lots of family. And really good profit, because like you said, Shane, you pick a few spots and, you do well with it. And it's probably something to get into next week. But, blanket strategies just tend to not really be blanket edges in today's modern betting environment. So, when you get super excited for like one thing coming up with football, where it's like, oh, I made so much money doing this last year, there's a good chance you're not going to make money doing that this year.
So things change.
You have to be sharper. You have to be more selective, and you really got to focus on that stuff. I think one of the biggest things for me is trust. That word is powerful, because it can apply to so many things, personal life, but I'm mostly referring to the betting side of things, where you want to trust your gut and all that stuff, sure, but when I come through 2 separate seasons, looking at the struggle I have had to get money out of sports books that have been considered reputable, and the amount of work I have to put in when we're not on stream to get paid, it really makes me look at where I play. So I think I've been through more than anyone in the world when it comes to that. I don't know if there's anyone that can talk about the stories of having money stolen the way I have. I don't know. There might be, but I'm definitely up there. And I have a process because of what had happened to me in the past. But what I've learned, kind of on topic with everything we just touched on earlier in this episode, is that when I come in and crush your sports book, there's a chance that no matter how reputable you are, you're still going to make it a problem for me to get my money. So where I play has to be more and more selective. And I have to trust where I play, knowing that each book is one that will, in fact, not be a problem for me. Because the stress associated with that it's challenging for sure.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that I will transition to. And from a betting standpoint individually, so a lot of times when we bet, we think of the collective because we have a community that we bet with. Individually, that limits the collective, because that means that maybe I'm not doing all the things that I used to do, right? But what I am doing is making sure that when I get a balance, 30, 40, 50, 100,000, I get the money. And that's pretty important. If you think about diminishing edges and then think about not getting paid on top of that, it's really difficult. So trusting where I play.
That's some, that the stress associated with that, I can only imagine, is some serious negative EV. Honestly, I don't want to be there. John, anything from you from 2025, lesson learned, something that you're holding on to that you want to carry forward?
Yeah, I think for me, there's maybe a couple things that they're opposite, but they're kind of, it's a dichotomy, I guess. They go together, but they're different. So the first thing is that I kind of went into this fall betting season in the wake of the big beautiful bill and the tax changes, and also what has been ever since the regulated markets became so prominent in the United States, an ever receding light at the end of the tunnel for winning sports bettors in regulated environments in the United States. It's the books every day get better at identifying and limiting winning players. They get more and more legislation passed in their favor to, settle bets, or void bets in situations where players win or they should pay them to, I think there's the only, you could point to a couple, there are the couple cases of the New Jersey, Iowa, where they were trying to, make, betting for others, even in person, illegal and like all that kind of stuff. What's the most recent thing in Massachusetts where they said that they have to now say why they limit players? Like, well, they've broadened terms of service to say they can limit any quote unquote non-recreational player for any reason. And blanketed under that term is problem gamblers. So they're basically giving themselves an out where they could just say that anyone who's non-recreational is then by association potentially a problem gambler. So they're doing them a favor by limiting them. Yeah. Right. So, and it's just all this kind of changing of the verbiage and all these agreements and all that kind of stuff that's making it difficult. So I came into this season, the fall season, football season, basketball season, with the anticipation that potentially this could be the last time that I make a good living where I can put a lot of money away and all of that solely on winning at sports betting. And there might have to be other avenues in this industry, whether it's media or what we do, working for other people to help provide winning bets and that sort of thing to supplement that income, or just at worst case you go back to doing whatever you were before. And so I went into it with the idea that I'm just going to bet more than I've bet in the past with the same bankroll. So if a unit, or if I'm betting 1% on wagers in the past or 0.5%, I'm just going to double that. Or maybe even more if what I'm doing is really working. And it's really worked this year. And I think part of it is just recognizing that I've been doing this for so many years that I'm comfortable with the risk, right? It's like, oh, I lose 3%. Okay. On one game, that's fine. I know I'll get it back because I'm not going to lose 40 bets in a row or whatever. You know what I mean? And then, so that's really worked out, just trusting myself and being more aggressive and trusting the group, and betting the markets that I know we can get money down on, that I know we're winning on. And then the second part of the dichotomy is having what we talked about when we opened, the temperament to not get lost in the chase of betting big and losing big, and to cap yourself at certain amounts and be very disciplined. And I've been able to do both of those things. I look back in years past, I had a couple of days down in the 5 figures where I'm like, heavy 5 figures, where I'm thinking, all right, well, what's the last game on tonight? Like, oh, it's the Sacramento Kings. I'm just going to put 20,000 on this and, and hope for the best. And like, not having done any of that at all this year, it's how fast you get back the money you lose when you're disciplined and you stay positive, value oriented. It's just been game changing for me. So taking those lessons forward of not being afraid, but then also always staying composed is probably the biggest things that I've taken away from this year.
Oh, love it, John. That hits so hard for me. Yeah, just that, having that right mindset, of just not chasing those losses. I mean, chasing obviously is always going to be bad, but just sort of being able to keep that level head all the time, winning, losing, or other. Maybe it even just means a period of not betting because for whatever reason you got family stuff going on or travel or whatever it might be, right? And just accepting that and having that and not stressing or FOMOing and just staying level with it all the time. You will find that your bankroll will just grow because your decision making is going to be so much sharper, so much crisper. Yeah. Love it, John. Great stuff. All right. Well, next week, I think we will do more of a 2026 look ahead. We're really going to dive into how to win in 2026, what you need, things you need to know, what to be aware of, all that sort of stuff. But until then, I'll just wish everybody a continued happy holidays and a happy new year and all the best in 2026. And until then, John, Pace, sports bettors around the world, keep beating those books.
And with that, the 2025 season comes to an end. Good night.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Lines. Remember to like, download, and subscribe. We are on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. Have a betting story or want to be featured on our podcast? Drop a note in the comments below. And if you want to join in play live, use promo code Behind the Lines.